From fine dining to serious street food, Chicago is all about big food experiences. I'm Carol Yelverton. Welcome to Hungry for Travel TV. Chicago's Polish community has helped us all fall in love with kielbasa. Well, I've got a recipe for you designed to bring out all its rich, garlicky flavor. You may be used to grilling or frying these sausages, but steaming leaves these beauties mouth-wateringly tender and moist. So let me show you how we're going to do it, okay? So right now, I've got two frying pans set up here. I've got one browning that's already done that we're going to show you later, but you're going to see it in the food shot. But I've got water that's just steaming at this point, and I'm going to take just a kielbasa here. This is a beef kielbasa. I like the flavor of the beef with the garlicky flavor and all the spices. It just tastes so good. So I always like to use a beef kielbasa. So then we're going to season the water so that as this steams, it has some complementary flavors. You know, of course, kielbasa is a highly spicy garlic sausage. So we're not going to try and add a lot of spice here, but we're just going to enhance kind of those spicy, rich flavors. So I've got a little brown sugar that I'm going to add in here that's going to help us to do that. So we'll get that in, and that just brings out the spicy sweetness of it so that you have not only the big, intense flavor, but the brown sugar kind of softens the spices and it helps to enhance them. So I have some mustard seed too, whole mustard seed, and I'm going to put, just maybe 15 in. How's that? Just a small amount. We don't have to have a lot in, but again, that's going to help. You know, we always like to have mustard with the kielbasa, and this kind of, you know, it kind of seeps in as it's cooking, and it gives it just that little bit of flavor impact. So we also have some marjoram that we're going to put in. Now, marjoram, you may not know this, but it's one of the ingredients that's used in making kielbasa. It's a kind of an interesting herb. We don't use it that much. It's very similar to oregano, but it has kind of a woodsier, gentler flavor. It's, you know, oregano's in your face. It's a big, big spice. Marjoram's not a big spice. It's really much more gentle. The other thing we're going to add are some peppercorns. I like telecherry peppercorns. They have a great flavor, a good impact on the food. So we're going to throw these in. They're not going to add a lot because they're on the whole peppercorns, but they're just going to give a little flavor to it. So this is in now, and we're just going to let it cook around. There are some schools of thought that you should bring a kielbasa to a boil when you steam it, but I've really found that that kind of tends to make it split apart. It gets too moist, too wet. So what I like to do is put this in some warm water and then let it go very, very gently for, maybe 20 minutes or so. You can cover it if you want. I'm just going to put a cover on here, let it do its thing and steam up. So about 20, 25 minutes. Then when that's done, what we do, I'm going to move this over here to show you, is we pour all the water out and we're left with our kielbasa, which is moist. And actually, let me show you the difference here in the kielbasa as you look at it. You can see with this one that it's plumped up somewhat, and it is got more moisture in it. It's got more of a richness to it. And what happens with this steaming is that really those flavors they really come out. So all the spices and herbs that have gone into the kielbasa, the flavor of the meat, the garlic, it all kind of can come out with the steaming. It isn't cooked down. It really kind of comes up. But now, I like to have a nice finish on this too, of course. So what I do is take all the water out, as I mentioned, and then we're just going to brown it on both sides. And you can see we've done that here. And so we just take it out, and it's good to go, believe it or not. It's that simple. Now, I wanted to also show you something about slicing kielbasa. I have found that you really need a serrated edge knife because you've got this very thick casing on it. And so instead of struggling with a knife and breaking the casing, you can just go much more simply and cut with a serrated edge knife, and you're not going to have as much breaking. So here we just slice our pieces. And I like to serve this on a plate with some other food. I know, of course, these kielbasas are great in a bun. Traditional kind of street food style. And that's what I love about Chicago is like, I'm going to kind of plate this up and make a nice little salad on the side and some special mustard. But you can as easily, you know, go to a vendor who's making great kielbasas, made great kielbasa for years in Chicago, and you're going to get a great, great piece of meat. And steamed is the way to go. So when you make your own at home, you know, you'll know to do steamed, and you will really, really enjoy it. So I'm going to have these right here. I'm going to put this back in here because we're going to do some other things now. So I love a mustard, a good mustard on kielbasa, and who doesn't, right? So I have a recipe here it's not just regular mustard, but mustard that will kind of, again, enhance the flavor of the kielbasa, has its own element that it brings to the party. So I use two kinds of mustard. I have some regular Dijon, which I'll put in here. And then this is the nice stone ground Dijon because, again, it's got the seeds in it, and it's got some texture, and so that all kind of works together for good in making this little mustard sauce that we're doing. Now, I call this a horseradish mustard sauce because we're going to add just a little bit of horseradish. And again, with horseradish, go really, really low with it, low and slow as you add it, because it can overpower your food, even your mustard. So I have here, this is about 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm going to take maybe a little bit less, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. Again, I can add more if I want, but I can keep it this way if I'd like it to be. I'm going to add just a little touch of water to this too. This is going to refrigerate for about a half hour or so to let the flavors come together. And it doesn't have to be super thick. It's more about just having good quality flavor. And I'm also going to be adding something else that's going to need a little moisture to it to kind of come together. And that, I'm going to get everything out of the way here for you, are freeze-dried chives. Now, normally, you know, I love to cook with the fresh herbs, and I think they taste so much better. But there's something about freeze-dried chives, these dried chives, that they have just this much more intense aroma and flavor. So they're actually they're separate from a fresh chive in the way they add to a dish. So I'm going to put some I'm going to put some of our dried chives in. And they're going to add their own little taste sensation here, and it's going to work really, really well with our kielbasa. So I just stir that together, and then again, it's going to take maybe a half hour. Just let it all come together, let it sit and do its thing. So we'll put it off to the side right now and let it just have some time alone. Let me get these off here. And then I want to show you a salad that I put together with this that, it just tastes so good with it. It's a little different from anything you've had, but it's similar to a lot of things that you've had as well. It is a beautiful apple cabbage salad that has been pickled. So a pickled apple cabbage salad. Say that 5 times fast. And you serve it really fresh. You know, you make it right before you're about to cook the food, and it comes together really, really nicely. So what I have right now are the components for the dressing. So I have some white vinegar, and white vinegar with cabbage, I mean, it's a traditional thing. Our grandmother's always made, cabbage with the white vinegar, and of course a little sugar. And there's nothing to improve upon that. You know, some things you just go, yes, she had it completely right, and that's what I'm going to do. And then here I have caraway seeds. And you know, caraway seeds go with all kinds of strong flavors. They have this kind of licorice flavor to them, and it's just very unique, very distinctive. You know caraway seeds when you taste them. They're so good in all kinds of like potato salads and coleslaws, and so they're really nice in this dish too. And then what I'm going to do is kind of play on that majoram theme with the kielbasa, and I'm going to add just a little of the majoram into our salad here, into our pickled apple and cabbage salad. So we're going to let that all come together. I'm going to put a little salt in, of course. Salt it up. And so we have a dressing going here. And then let me show you. You can see an apple here. So what I've done is I've taken the food processor. The food processor and I were very close friends this morning. And I've shredded green apples. And look how beautiful they are. I mean, they're just, you know, such a pretty light green color. This is one of my favorite colors. And so, of course, look what happens. We have another light green color. So we're going to get this salad that's really going to stand out on the plate. It's going to look a little different. It's not going to look like a traditional coleslaw or taste like a traditional coleslaw. So I've got the cabbage and I've got the apples. We're just going to let them come together here. Mix them together, and you get this beautiful green on green contrast. That's really lovely. And so then, once I've mixed that, I have the dressing mixed, and I always like to, again, mix a dressing or mix a sauce up before I add anything to the food. I don't like to put in the dry spices and, then, the vinegar or whatever, because this way everything is really thoroughly mixed, and you don't have pockets of places where you didn't get enough or you got too much of one herb or spice. So this is like it. I mean, it's this simple. So you can throw together like this really beautiful, beautiful kielbasa dinner in a really short period of time. And so we'll spoon some of this out here. We have kielbasa. And then we need to get our mustard back because that's going to be on the side. Let's just make that pretty for everybody, right? Okay. And then chives, horseradish, our mustards, and a little water. We have that on the side, just like that. So you can dip the kielbasa in it. Maybe I'll push the coleslaw over a little bit too. Not coleslaw, cabbage salad with apples. And there we have it. So it's a really nice dinner to have with friends, a nice dinner for the game, a nice way to kind of elevate the idea of the kielbasa on the roll and still get the really full flavor of it. So this is definitely a part of the Chicago scene, and it's a tribute to beautiful Chicago. It really is a magnificent city of steel. The metal on metal structures are unbelievable. Those skyscrapers, the architecture is incredibly striking. Take a minute here to soak it all in. And of course, what would all this beauty mean without the vibrance of Chicago's culture and people? So I've added some more kielbasa onto our plate, and I'm also just throwing on some fresh chives for garnish because they're really pretty green and they just kind of make the plate look so nice. So Chicago is such an amazing place, isn't it? Real people, real food, fine dining, street food, everything you could think of, and just a culture that's so fantastic. A couple of great sports teams, a little wind, and a really fantastic experience when you go to visit. I'm Carol Yelverton. Until I see you again, stay hungry for travel.